Alexiou, if you can.
A sincere welcome to you all.
Please
as we
assign
come
me.
to one of the last high-level sessions of the summit. My name is Amanda Harding. I lead convene, and it's my immense privilege to moderate this session, a session that our mentor, and for many of us, our friend, David Nabarro, had planned to moderate. So I think many of us with a lot of emotion, and we should give ourselves permission for that. I will do my best to channel David today in the knowledge that I can in no way replace him or fill his immense shoes. David talked a lot about a let go process. I'm hoping we can bring this to life in the next 80 minutes. So before we actually jump into this forward-looking let go session on the future of food, let us just take a moment for David. Again, thank you, and thank you for your generosity for that moment. David talked so intentionally about the interfaces of sciences, intentionally plural, the interfaces of sciences, policy, and society. In this session, we will test these interfaces and challenge their effectiveness. So to kick us off, this is where I start to walk around. So I apologize to the people that are trying. We're going to come down this end. To kick us off, I'd like to welcome to the stage Ambassador Nafiso Jazile, come up with me, Chair of the UN Committee on World Food Security. I'd also like to welcome civil society leader Luz Haroguanga, Executive Secretary Network of Rural Women of Latin America and the Caribbean. Luz, I'm going to invite you to take a seat, and we'll have our opening remarks. We have two opening.
Thank you for this opportunity, Amanda. Excellencies, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it is definitely not easy to stand here opening this event, knowing that David should have been here today. My heartfelt condolences, adding to the words already shared as testament to the impact of his sudden passing to all of us. His contribution to the cause of food systems transformation and the warmth and kindness he brought to every interaction as a human being will be evident. We carry in his spirit with us, continue the work ahead as he cared about this work in this area so deeply. Our commitment towards a more just, equitable, resilient, and sustainable food systems is what we have to respond to. This session, as it starts, will demonstrate how co-creating evidence across sectors, scales, and actors unlocks transformative food systems, especially in the context of opportunities for demand-driven perspectives, which are essential for navigating today's polycrisis. How the food systems of the future that are rooted in human rights, how these and the use of evidence, either our objectives of achieving nutritious food and promote inclusion. With grassroots level participation, science is a multicultural, multidisciplinary public good, especially in the context of food systems transformation. The role of science as a cross-cutting theme to accelerate people-centered food systems transformation cannot be underestimated. It seeks to make food systems to deliver the public goods, and therefore to use science evidence is to embed either our nutrition outcomes or goals and food security outcomes. The use of science evidence is difficult in the context of also dehumanizing situations. Conflict-ridden territories, like in the case of Sudan, Yemen, Gaza, and other areas. Again, because we have an opportunity to get scientists to provide us with objective data and information, using science as a powerful tool to overcome challenges in an evolving global context is to foster convergence and coherence across sectors from subnational level up to global levels. And therefore, today we are gathered here talking about food systems transformation stock-taking moment in a context of assessing whether we are able to take a path forward that would deliver inclusion, science innovation, research that serves to inform better designed programs in, for example, the context of the School Meals Coalition, or as also demonstrated in the Agroecology Coalition. Today you will hear country-led examples that would reveal not just what solutions work, but how they are developed, demonstrating the concrete outcomes of rights-based food systems transformation. How to center these transformative agenda on the basis of equity, diversity, and inclusion, and our knowledge systems that drive food systems change. In the context, again, of policy interface with science, there would be stories that could be shared in the context of what we had yesterday during the opening ceremony, but also in the course of the other sessions. How science responds in the implementation is what confronts us. Stepping up to the challenge as we undertake the stocktake, we're mobilizing formal and informal policy interfaces to enable transformation and transformative actions. Therefore, we are challenged to respond on these transformation demands through convergent approaches, addressing multiple goals, including physical and biodiversity and climate-related challenges. I'd like to thank the co-organizers of this session, in particular the CGIR, the FAO, and the high-level panel of experts on food security and nutrition, and the Scientific Advisory Committee of the Food Systems Hub, which have worked together to demonstrate that whichever angle you work on policies, there would be, and there is an opportunity to collaborate and ensure that we are not working in silos, but we build on science evidence that enhances policy coherence and convergence. And I would like to now conclude, and I know that my moderator is not happy with me because I'm exceeding time. It is worthwhile just to underline how critical science is for the future of food systems, which is the importance of this session. And I would like to just conclude by saying multi-sectoral science, by definition, also involves diverse stakeholders, including family farmers, pastoralists. This morning I was talking about how pastoralists have not been fully weaved into our evidence at policy level, at a global level, whilst there are practices that we can emulate from and country levels. Traditional fishers, indigenous people, communities, smallholder producers, all of them working with private sector and government, and also to consumers and civil society. We can create a more sustainable, resilient, and equitable food systems based on science evidence from all of these sectors. I'd like to thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador.
Distinguidas autoridades aquí presentes, muchísimas gracias por esta oportunidad que nos brindan a nosotras, a las mujeres rurales, poder estar aquí en este gran evento, pisando por primera vez suelo africano. Raíces de nuestra fundadora de la Red de Mujeres Rurales de Latinoamérica y el Caribe, una mujer brasilera de Pernambuco, Vanete Almeida. Les traigo el saludo de los millones de mujeres, niñas y adolescentes que residimos en las zonas rurales de nuestra región. Como secretaria ejecutiva de la Red LAC, quisiera transmitirles precisamente nuestra gratitud a quienes hicieron posible estar el día de hoy acá. Pero también con el saludo para todos quienes pues se encuentran siguiéndonos a través de las redes sociales. Para nosotras, las mujeres rurales, ¿cómo hacer y contribuir para los sistemas alimentarios, para nuestras comunidades, pero también para el mundo? Es vital precisamente el volver los ojos hacia nuestras heroínas rurales invisibles. Las mujeres que trabajan en el campo sin salario ni horario, a veces hasta 18 horas al día, sin ninguna recompensa. Por ello, es preciso que volvamos los ojos al campo y que reconozcamos la contribución de esas mujeres humildes que son quienes sostienen la economía local y son pilares de uno de nuestros pueblos. Gracias a ustedes aquí presentes por la escucha generosa para poder dialogar un poquito con ustedes. Para nosotras, la red nace como un espacio para dar espacio a las que no teníamos espacio hace 35 años. Y luego desde entonces hemos buscado, desde nuestra fundadora, el empoderamiento de las mujeres, el liderazgo, la actoría y el protagonismo de las mujeres más humildes del campo. Es necesario también comentarles que nosotras en el quehacer de estos años hemos llevado a cabo 6 grandes encuentros que reúnen a las mujeres de las distintas latitudes desde México hasta Chile. Pero también hemos sido las proponentes de la declaración de la década de las mujeres rurales como un justo resarcimiento por los años de exclusión y olvido colectivamente a partir de 2012. Inicialmente un sueño de esta loca soñadora, pero colectivamente desde 2012. Eso ha sido posible llevar nuestra voz hacia Nueva York en el 12 de marzo del 18, pero también dirigirnos hacia el Estado panameño, lleve nuestra inquietud y nuestra propuesta hacia los estados americanos, la OEA. Lo hicimos en 2022 y el 23 de junio de 2023 los estados americanos en su 53 Asamblea General en Washington declara precisamente el decenio por los derechos de todas las mujeres, las niñas y adolescentes rurales de las Américas 2024-2034. Este es un paso muy importante que incluso se suma y debe ser un mecanismo, un instrumento para nosotras, mujeres de base, que podamos incidir de abajo hacia arriba, como también para los tomadores y tomadoras de decisión de los distintos escenarios, de los distintos espacios y de la cooperación internacional, para que sigan apostando a la causa de la gente humilde para eliminar la pobreza, al amparo de los ODS, el 1, el 2, el 5, el 17 y todos ellos, la Agenda 2030. Por eso es que creemos que esta oportunidad para nosotras ha sido de oro y nos alienta precisamente a poder transmitirles a ustedes nuestras esperanzas, ese sueño de vivir con dignidad en las comunidades rurales. El empoderamiento tiene que ver, para empoderar hay que dar poder. ¿Y cómo se da poder si no es a través del conocimiento? Solo el conocimiento nos da poder, libertad y acción. Por eso es que nosotras le apostamos al fortalecimiento del talento humano y confío en que también ustedes concuerden con la imperiosa, porque una mujer, una niña, un adolescente que lea lo que existen derechos alcanzados y que se comprometa a seguir trabajando en el día a día, en el campo, en la chacra, en la producción, en la pequeña producción, es vital. Pero también contamos con este decenio y contamos también en crisis voluntarias que fueron delineadas y aprobadas por el Comité de Seguridad Alimentaria CESA en Roma el 24 de octubre de 2023. Es decir, 2023 para nosotras las mujeres y niñas rurales ha sido un año clave. Por eso es que quisiéramos pedirles que crean que solamente fortaleciendo la voz y la actoría de las mujeres y de las niñas podemos también luchar contra la pobreza, contra las desigualdades sociales y podemos seguir produciendo alimentos ahí en las comunidades sin tener que emigrar a las grandes ciudades o a morir en las fronteras. Ese también es un derecho necesario humano para que la condición de vida realmente nos permita permanecer ahí. Necesitamos para ello política pública que nos garantice el acceso a la salud, el derecho a la educación, el derecho a la propiedad de la tierra, al crédito blandos para poder seguir produciendo y poder salir de la pobreza. Por eso es que muchas gracias, realmente para nosotras es maravilloso estar aquí. Ya quisiéramos decirles muchas otras cosas, pero creo que si ustedes le apuestan a la inversión en talento humano, nuestras mujeres, las niñas de hoy, seguirán siendo las mujeres rurales de mañana y de pasado mañana, para que nadie tenga que morir de hambre y poder seguir siendo las guardianas del agua, de la tierra, de la alimentación sana, libre de transgénicos para el mundo. Cada centavo invertido en mujeres rurales es sembrar en tierra fértil. Gracias por la oportunidad y espero que ustedes se lleven este mensaje y que desde cada espacio y de cada escenario donde ustedes toman decisiones, vuelvan los ojos, la mirada y el corazón hacia las zonas rurales para vivir con dignidad. Muchísimas gracias.
Let me try again. Here we go. Well, that's an incredible start that we've already had. So this is when I'm going to get to call our first panel up. I will take my seat here. The first of two panels. I will call out your names. If you could just come up. John, is that? Absolutely. John Stephenson, you're going to tell me if I pronounced your name right this time. Minister for Agriculture of South Africa. Welcome. Come up to the panel. Dr. Tran Van Tate, as well, Deputy Director of the Institute of Agriculture for Environment of Vietnam. Please come up. And then as well, we have Marina Godoy de Lima, Deputy Vice Minister for the Agrarian Development and Family Farming Ministry of Brazil. Marina, come and join me up here on my right. This is the first of two panels. After the second panel, we have a very short amount of time. Heads up to everybody when I will be going for reflections from the audience here. I know there's a few people that already thought about what they might want to say. It's going to be very short. We will have that moment before we then have the closing remarks. But to get us going, we have a couple of questions. We're going to do this in two rounds, just a reminder to the panelists, and this is how we're doing this in case you've forgotten. The first question, same question for all of you, and Minister with you, I hope you're ready. He is ready, that's excellent. The first question, in your experience, how can interactions between scientists, I would say scientists, knowledge holders, particularly with the two interventions that we've already had, policymakers and society best advance the transformation to sustainable, equitable, and resilient food systems? John, if you want to start, and then we'll go to Dr. Tran and then to Marina afterwards. Go ahead.
Great, thank you very much, and thanks to be on. Thanks for the opportunity to be on the panel, and thank you to all of those in attendance. I think that in our perspective, two perspectives stand out when it comes to the alignment of science policy and society for food systems transformation. First of all, we've got to treat science as not just as an input, but also as a bridge, an ability to be able to bridge knowledge, to to be able to bridge innovations and to ensure that we can build climate resilient crops as well as traceability systems. And this happens when science engages directly with farmers at the ground level. It can't be something that just happens in silos, pardon the pun. It has to be something that's genuinely integrated so that science is being used to answer the genuine questions that farmers have at the ground level and are coming up with those innovations. And then we need to have the courage to build long-term institutional partnerships between decision makers and scientists. It's very important that at policy-making level, at government level, that we make every effort to be evidence-based and research-led in our decision-making. This ensures a greater and better use of resources in more effective ways, but it also then locates science and technology at the very heart of the solutions matrix. A good example of what we're doing in South Africa, for instance, is the creation of our biosecurity hub, which is looking at livestock and plant biosecurity issues from phytosanitary to animal health, and it's located at a university, it's bringing scientists together, it's bringing together policymakers, at the same time bringing together farmers from small scale all the way through to your large scale producers. And I think that that inculcation and mixing of these should be the model that's used to go forward. Thanks.
Dr. Tran, do you want to go ahead? We've heard already a lot about the silos, the importance of being evidence and knowledge-based led for policy making. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you everyone. The mic has play very important for Vietnam. We fit with more than 100 million people. So since 2023, the National Action Plan of Food System Transformation already developed with we focus on both the sustainable product supply and sustainable consumption have been developed and implemented in Vietnam. So to implement the food system transformation, we also developed established the food system transformation partnership. We call the different partners from the Vietnam, includes the international, national, and also in the civil organization participate in this partnership. Such as we have the CGI Alliance and Biodiversity and CF, UN agency, and other organizations in Vietnam participate in the transformation. And in that the process, we consider that the interaction between scientists and policymakers and society includes the important provide the science evidence for this decision making, design, implementation process to achieve the positive transformation for sustainable and equitable resilient food system in Vietnam. And from the National Action Plan, also FSP partnership we so developed because we challenge with the financial resource. So we set up what is the most priority in the given year. So we also develop the project implementation plan to implement the system transformation action, and we work with the various national and international scientists, stakeholder, participants from the local province and society to map the existing effort and figure out what process and activity need to be added for the system changing with more synergies. And also we the tailor of the FS National Action Plan to provide realities through the evidence-based dialogue is a key and play very significant important. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tran. I'm going to ask Maureen the same question. How have you actually been trying to make these science policy society interfaces more effective?
Thank you for your question. First, I like to highlight the Brazilian team's joy at the FIO's announcement yesterday that Brazil is not in the hunger map anymore. This is a result of Lula government's resumption of key public policies. Concerning your question, first, to invest in interdisciplinary research that brings together agriculture science, nutrition, social science, and local knowledge. As Josué de Castro, who was a Brazilian research, once said, the food problem is, above all, a social issue, not merely an agronomic one. This is also a vision of this government. The hunger is a matter of citizenship. Of course, we need agronomic science, nutrition, and food engineering, but above all, we must place people at science. So to do a transformation of food systems, this requires investing in social management science and methodology that value active listening, local knowledge, and cultural diversity. Secondly, it's crucial to create permanent mechanisms of dialogue between academy, policymakers, and family farmers, centering on an active listening and co-production of solutions. The innovation must be inclusive and sensitive to gender and racial perspectives and take into account the diversity of those involved in family farming. And the recognition of indigenous people, quilombolas communities, and artisan communities have been an important step forward, fairer and more inclusive policies. In short, we need citizen science that include people.
Marina, thank you so much. And again, I think we're immediately getting a real sort of flow here of we're breaking the silence, the silos, we're bringing in evidence-led policy making, we're being really pragmatic about how, given our resources, we can build those science policy interfaces. And we're seeing science is more than science. We're seeing science as knowledge, and knowledge in terms of citizens as well. With that, Minister, turning back to you, and like I'll sort of deep dive a little bit with your experience and your leadership in the G20. Are there key lesson strategies that could be scaled and adapted to advance global food system sustainability? And where does evidence come into the joker I'm throwing in there for you?
Thank you very much. And obviously chairing the G20 agricultural track has given South Africa a unique vantage point. I want to share lessons that we believe the global community can take forward. The first is that we must center inclusion, not just as a theme, but as a strategy. Our G20 work is emphasizing policies that promote inclusive market participation, especially for youth, women, and smallholder farmers in value chains. And this obviously means adopting a variety of things like tailored financing instruments, enabling infrastructure and partnerships that connect to value chains, not just through words, but also budgets. One of our examples is our seed innovation project, where we are working with the ARC to develop drought-resistant maize hybrids to achieve high yields, working with less water. And these varieties are the product of and are being scaled via provincial extension programs and ensuring that everybody who wants access to these seeds is able to get them. And they're not just the purview of large corporations. Secondly, the lesson we're learning is that innovation thrives in ecosystems. And when you build that ecosystem, it enables that innovation to come out as a product of it. And so, as I said earlier, building up, bringing scientists together with politicians, with policymakers, as well as farmers, I think you're able to collectively come up with farmer-led innovations, understanding what the problems being faced by farmers on the ground level and how to overcome those hurdles. Third, and perhaps most importantly, I would say that governance matters. Transforming food systems demands policy coherence across a wide variety of disciplines within government, your health department, your environment department, and of course, your finance, where budgets flow from. And so using our G20 instruments and engagements, we're pushing for mechanisms that will align climate finance with agricultural resilience and pressing for global data standards that empower, not exclude, developing countries from what is required. We also believe that there needs to be integrated data for decision making. Under its G20 presidency, we've obviously been prioritizing open, interoperable platforms like the AMIS, the Agriculture Marketing Information System, and we want to extend it to climate and nutrition metrics. I believe this would help governments make better, more informed decisions, and decisions that are actually going to be able to translate into meaningful action on the ground and not just remain wonderful words on a piece of paper or a theory sitting in a drawer somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister. And I love the fact that we seem to always come back to data and metrics. Can't get away from it. Dr. Trine, go ahead. We have a question that we have put to you, which is very much based experience of dialogues on agroecology and getting a sense of what's needed to scale up the contribution of science, both locally and nationally. This work that you've been doing across scales, which has been so impressive. Go ahead.
Yes, very good question. In Vietnam, we apply both agroecology for sustainable production and healthy diets for the sustainable consumption and food system transformation pathway. From the national action plan, we need to downscale to the local sub-national. But how we can downscale to the sub-national? National, we develop the different toolkit. Like we collect the data, we work with the different participants from the sub-national in the related food system process, and develop the toolkit training. We also develop the food system profile, provide information for the local province, and also we so that all activity do like that, we foster more the multidiscipline activity for the achieving nutrition, health, socio-economic outcome, and positive environment impacts. And for that process, we recognize that the contribute from the research and science on how to identify and decide solutions through the process for both the local and national level is crucial for food system transformation. So in that we developed like this one, like the toolkit. We developed the guideline for the food system the dialogues, also guideline for the food system issue. We work with them, and then we classify what is to be included in the food system transformation plan, and we also develop the toolkit and guideline for the capacity building on the food system transformation, and we consult with the local level to foster the implementation at grassroots level, and just mapping separate specific intervention or single community to the food system framework. The role of and the importance of multidiscipline again, and multi-stakeholder need to be considered to understand all the process of agroecology and healthy diet as a food system pathway, and co-research on how to scale at a different level to make impact on the ground. Yes, thank you.
Again, Dr. Tran, thank you so much. Again, that experience from Vietnam, both in terms of the rigor, the frameworks, the tools, the bottom up at the same time, top down in terms of actually having a policy framework to work to is being really impressive. The challenge I put to Dr. Tran yesterday was, how do we actually take that experience out of Vietnam as we're doing here, and really particularly see how it can actually be used and adapted in other countries in the region. I'm going to leave you to think about that one. And then go straight over to you, Marina. As you know, what we're really interested to hear from you is, this huge effort on family farming, and school meals. What has that actually meant in terms of the evidence and the knowledge that you brought into that, and how can you actually take that further?
Well, Brazil has learned through experience and through the research produced by our university and institutions that tackling hunger, promoting food and nutritional security, and ensuring the human right to adequate food require coordinated action. In other words, success is only possible with a multidimensional and integrated approach that connects policies. And one of the most effective approaches to achieving this integration is Brazil's public procurement policy for family farming, especially through the National School Feeding Program. Since 2009, Brazil has allotted at least 30% of this program's resource to the direct purchase of food from family farmers. This is a federal policy created under federal law, implemented by local governments. When it comes to driven social policies, common coordination challenges include securing buy-in, generating intersectorial and intergovernmental coordination, and ensuring service delivery that is consistent across the country. To address these challenges, we have worked to mitigate implementation bottlenecks through technical and managerial training, target both to family farmers, their organizations, as well as to school managers and nutritionists, ensuring them understand how to participate and meet the formal requirements of the program. At the Ministry of Agrarian Development, which has the vested interest in the success of the policy, we developed a strategy for implementation. This involves state and municipal actors, with civil society helping to bridge the gap between family farmers and local public managers. We organized a series of seminars, especially for municipal managers in metropolitan regions, areas that represent a significant share of organized food purchase, but that often face more complex logistics and high urbanization, making it harder to source from family farmers. We believe that if it was possible to make this model work in cities like São Paulo or Rio de Janeiro, it would strengthen the case for its viability anywhere else in the country. What we do need in order to expand the reach of the school feeding policy is effective engagement from our family farmers, public managers, nutritionists, and other key actors. And this is no easy, especially in countries as large as federate as Brazil. It is essential that we do this without resorting to the purely punitive approach. So to overcome implementation challenges, we began testing different solutions. And this is an area where the science of public policy management and coordination must support us urgently. We can no longer operate solely by trial and error. We need to know with great accuracy and effectiveness how to engage people in every stage of the public policy. That's it. Thank you.
First, Minister, thank you so much. Incredibly powerful challenge, I think, to the science community in terms of what is needed, not necessarily the solutions that we already have out there in terms of the technical ones, but a whole range of other research and knowledge needs starting from the ground up. That's what I certainly was hearing from you. I think on that, a round of applause for our first panel. I'm going to invite you to leave me. I'm going to invite the next panel up. Thank you so much. So great. We've had these great experiences from South Africa, from Vietnam, and from Brazil, covering 3 continents. Oh, I'm going to welcome, I love it. Kika's encouraging more applause, which is great. Thank you. The second panel, why don't you come and join me? I'm going to introduce up as well. We should be able to give you new names up here, but I'm going to invite up. I'll say your names as you're just walking up. So we have Akiko Sua Eisenman, chair of the high-level panel of experts of the UN Committee on World Food Security. Akiko's coming up first. I think Afshan Khan, UN Assistant Secretary General and Coordinator of the Sun Movement. Afshan, come along. I think your seats are being put in front of you. Thank you. Why don't you sit next to Akiko? Thank you very much. Shankuntala Tilstead coming up. It feels like a show that we're putting on here this afternoon. Chair of the UN Food Systems Summit Scientific Advisory Committee. I know many of the people coming up have many hats, so I'm reminding of your hats for the next while here. And lastly, Dongxing Feng, who is the director of the joint FAO IAEA Center. Dongxing, come and join me and maybe, then I get to sit in a minute. Okay, here we go. Second panel. And if you've noticed, the second panel has moved from the country perspective into the institutional perspective. Just pointing that out to everybody. The same format. We have one general question for everybody, your 2 minutes. As I said, I feel like I'm on a show at this point. And then a second question for 3 minutes, which is more that tailored deep dive where we really get to hear a little bit of your experience. Just to remind you of the first question, well, we're hoping that you can do. I'm really happy to be, by the way, on an all-women panel here. Feels really nice. I haven't seen so many of those in the last 2 days. Building on, thank you. There you go. Building on the country experiences that we've just heard, would like to hear your institutional responses in terms of what you think needs to really support collaboration among scientists, policymakers, and society. Again, that reminder, we're looking at science, policy, and society together and those interfaces. I'm actually going to change the order a little bit to what you expected. Afshan, I'm going to ask you to go first, if you want to jump in.
Thank you so much, Amanda, and thank you for that question, because I feel that the Sun movement, being country-led and country-driven, is perhaps a little bit of the connect, in a way, between some of the 2 panels. So the Sun movement experience across 67 countries shows how evidence and the ability to effectively place nutrition advocacy is essential for both attracting finance and designing programs that lead to nutrition outcomes in food systems. In many countries, works are generating context-specific and culturally relevant evidence that can meaningfully improve nutrition outcomes. Of the 67 Sun countries, 26 have formal academic platforms. Their insights help ensure that policies and programs are grounded in local realities and more likely to succeed. In Bangladesh, for example, the academic network helped shape the national nutrition strategy. In Zimbabwe, the academic network supported COVID-19 response efforts with rapid assessments and is now working with the Sun Business Network on climate-smart nutrition solutions. In Burkina Faso, the Recont network is embedded in national policy planning and supports multi-sector coordination on nutrition. So mechanisms like these, alongside platforms such as national information platforms for nutrition, help turn data into policy decisions. I want to be very clear also, there are gaps. Data on fragile states is more of a challenge, and more can be done to paint a picture of these contexts to inform decision-making at national and international levels. Sun has its roots in evidence. The original Lancet series on maternal and child nutrition helped spur country-led action, and set the stage for the launch of the movement. Today, the work being done by CGIAR and upcoming reviews like HESAT 2030, the Eat Lancet Series 2.0, and the scientific advisory platforms established by different partners can help us better understand the menu of options available to integrate nutrition into food systems and make sure it reaches the policymakers. As we heard earlier, evidence needs a combination of actors to translate action on the ground: politicians, financiers, including philanthropy, academics, civil society, farmers associations and youth, and technical service providers all have a role to play. But it's clear when governments leverage evidence and knowledge, they can scale innovation, justify investments, and when that evidence is shared peer-to-peer across countries, it travels further, and when it includes indigenous knowledge and voices, it becomes relevant and inclusive.
Afshan, thank you so much, both for the really concrete examples, because that's what we need to be looking at, and also those approaches and those principles behind that. Akiko, do you want to give us your response in terms of what are those institutional responses that can best support these collaborations?
Thank you. The high-level panel of experts on food security and nutrition, the HLP-FSN, for the UN Committee on World Food Security, has 15 years of experience as a science policy interface, SPI. In our view, there are 4 elements that make such collaboration effective. First, the SPI must be constituted as an independent and permanent body. Second, the SPI must be linked to a policy-making body which has the right to ask its specific question and thus the obligation to consider its answers. Third, the SPI must have a capacity to inform not only the policy negotiation on a specific topic, also priorities for policy making. Fourth, including society is key. Experts need to consider diverse types of knowledge, not only scientific papers, but also the lived experience of people. This is fundamental to inform policies that are effective, equitable, and sustainable. The interdisciplinary HLP-FSN enjoys close relationship with the CFS, but also clear separation to ensure its independence. On the one hand, you have the HLP reports open to public consultation and independent from government's position. On the other hand, you have the CFS policy products, which are informed by the HLP reports and negotiated by all CFS stakeholders, governments, and participants from the private sector, civil society, and indigenous peoples. The stakeholders with different perspectives and interests to determine shared priorities is extremely challenging. A fundamental role of science policy interface is to provide a balanced analysis of complex issues, a common basis to start the discussion on policy. It is this inclusive, evidence-based process that enables at all levels collective action to transform food systems. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Akiko. I'm going to go straight over to you, Shakuntal. Again, this idea of institutionally, how can we really improve our science policy society interfaces?
Thank you so much, Mandy. Importantly, we must ensure that our institutional collaboration build on strong principles of trust, justice, and equity, and with community engagement at all steps of the way, both in sharing and in learning. And when the work that we do at the Scientific Advisory Committee, we tend to look at these principles and ensure that they are kept, especially in our dealings with the national pathways and the national conveners. However, let me give an example from Bangladesh that builds on engagement of communities. Women engaged in nutrition-sensitive food production systems, these are rural women, were given training in how to make short videos about the work, the benefits of their production systems, or the limitations they face, their goals, and their aspirations. And very much so talking about their aspirations for themselves and their children, so looking into the future. Then a system was set up to ensure that these videos were seen by subnational and national policymakers, and there was a system for feedback. And this feedback, which was listening by the policymakers, led to their engagement, the engagement of the policymakers, led to more investments and the spread of these nutrition-sensitive production systems to other communities. This was really impressive, and the change were long-lasting.
Again, thank you, Shakunta, because again, I love the way that we're starting to get the concrete examples of where these collaborations actually can function, and how we can actually take them further. Dongshin, do you want to come in yourself now?
Thank you so very much, Amanda. So I would like to say, in fact, what we heard from the estimate panel member from the first panel are really very encouraging and inspiring. In fact, they shared with us their experience from different perspectives on how to enhance or how to strengthening the policy, science policy interface, both at a national level and somehow at a global level, for example, from the perspective of G20. So I'm really very pleased to share FAO's perspective in terms of the policy, science policy or at agri-food systems transformation. As a specialized UN agency, so FAO takes the lead or lead the global efforts to achieve zero hunger. So one of the most important, the core, in fact, of the FAO science and the FAO strategic framework is to support the 2030 agenda for sustainable development through the transportation of agri-food systems to be more inclusive, more resilient, more productive, or more sustainable. So in fact, the FAO strategic framework underline or emphasize the importance of systems thinking and also evidence-based or science-based approaches. And also this underlined all forms of innovation and some technology, but for example, including the mindset and so on. And also the strategy emphasized the importance of resilience building and also partnerships among different stakeholders. So another very important document of FAO is its FAO Science and Innovation Strategy. In fact, it was published in 2022, and it's the first ever of FAO strategy on science and innovation. So this document covers 3 pillars. The first pillar, in fact, is on enhancing the evidence-based policy making, and one of the components of this pillar is really on science policy interface for agri-food system. So that's really very important. And finally, in fact, FAO also published another document. It was called Guidance to Enhance Science Innovation for Science Policy interface. Sorry.
Thank you so much. And again, what we're seeing here from on the FAO side is what I'm hearing from you is how this is institutionalized into the organization as well. And I'm going to come straight back to you, Afshan, because I think what we're hoping that you're going to be able to take us into is to talk about how you see nutrition evidence, and you've already touched on it, being incorporated into national food system transformation strategies. And I guess coming to the end of this summit, I'm just going to take advantage of it myself. Are you hopeful when you look at the trends? We've seen nutrition make it up the agenda in the way that we maybe hadn't seen 2 years ago. But what does that look like for you now? And is evidence there that it needs to play?
Thanks very much, Amanda. I'd like to start first, I think, with the country level, because we see that SUN's multi-stakeholder platforms have proven a powerful convening force, connecting politicians, policymakers, researchers, civil society, business and development partners together on a nutrition platform, ensuring that research informs policy and that policy creates demand for better evidence. So the multi-stakeholder platforms can help to broaden the tent on nutrition beyond health, because they can build a compelling case for ministers of agriculture, finance, or environment to ensure that nutrition is their business too. This panel very eloquently reinforced that. Across food systems, from production to value chains to the food environment, we know to improve nutrition. For example, diverse crops, biofortification, fortification, strengthen food value chains, taxes on healthy foods and subsidies for nutritious ones, dietary guidelines, and nutrition education, including through school meals. All of this can make a difference. But I think to scale these interventions, we need to build the evidence and better communicate the co-benefits. How improved diets enhance smallholder productivity, how well-nourished communities are more resilient to climate shocks, how tackling malnutrition can unlock economic growth and reduce health spending, and research and evidence must address of the most vulnerable, including in countries in the context of fragility. So I'm extremely hopeful. I think the coming together, the alliances that are between national food systems pathways, with the Sun country focal points, the alignment with research, data, and evidence that's context specific and relevant to country needs for transformation. And as many have said, the listening to local voices, indigenous experience, and that informing national policies in a very deliberate manner, as we heard from the earlier panel, is a way to create the transformation we need in food systems so they work for both people and sustaining our planet.
Afshan, thank you so much. Thank you for your very, as somebody else I know, very your obstinate optimism in this, your stubborn optimism, because I think it's exactly the leadership that we're looking for right now. Akiko, I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to remind the other panels, we really need to stay under 3 minutes at this point because we're going a little bit over time. And it'd be great to hear from Hugh from the HLP perspective. How do you think we can best ensure that evidence really is making that influence into food systems policy making?
Yes, well, we need to increase the demand for evidence-based policy, not only from politicians, but also from society as a whole, in order to address complex issues with trade-offs between the economic, social, and environmental dimensions. High-quality data are needed to inform policy for food security and nutrition. However, despite the abundant ability of data information, often policymakers are not aware of the existence and quality of such data or do not use them because they lack capacity and access. Thus, we need to sustain investment to fill fundamental data gaps, especially in terms of timely, nationally representative, and disaggregated data on people's ability to locally produce and access food and their dietary intakes. Importantly, we need to invest in people who analyze this data, in mechanisms to share and use available data and knowledge. Knowledge and evidence are key to assess what are the priorities, who are the most marginalized, and where they are in the country. They also allow monitoring and evaluation, hence government's accountability and responsibility. Evidence-based policy making is not only efficient, it also enables agency for food security. That is, the capacity of individuals and communities to make their own decision about the food they eat and to influence food systems work. Promoting agency is a powerful way to address the root causes of food insecurity and progress toward the realization of the right to food for all.
Okay, Gergen, thank you so much. And thank you again. I think I'm feeling it on the platform right here that we're really welcoming and grateful for that reference to agency and how you actually bring agency into science, knowledge, and evidence. It's a great segue actually to you, Shakuntala, in terms of the question we have for you, which is very much around how is science contributing to equitable nutrition sensitive food systems, and can that really help us progress?
Well, first, let me say that science is important, continues to be important, and that the engagement of those working in science is important for moving forward with the mission of the UN Food Systems Summit, transforming food systems to nourish people and planet, leaving no one behind. And in this regard, the Scientific Advisory Committee to the UN Food Systems Coordination Hub plays an important role. And it tries to make the bridge from the science to ensuring that the science is used smartly to develop and implement the national pathways. So moving from global science to national actions is important. Let me give an example using one of the work of one of the coalitions of the UN Food, and that is the Coalition on Aquatic Food Systems. We know that work on aquatic food systems contributes to several SDGs, as you've asked me, to SDG 2, SDG 5, 12, and 14. And this is important in having a nutrition-sensitive food systems approaches, which nourish all people, and in particular is important for the health and nutrition of women and young children. Science and investment continue to be important and needed in developing, for example, nutrient-rich, desirable aquatic food products to be used in school feeding and safety net programs, and also the engagement of communities that we include indigenous and traditional knowledge, as we've heard before, but also with the integration of the evolving science, which is within data technologies and AI. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And again, great segue. Thank you, Shakuntala, because I'm going to go straight to you, Dongshin, in terms of this question we had for you, which is more around how can we actually enable local low-income communities and their families, family farmers, to benefit from advanced technical innovations in food systems. I know it's a question many in the room are playing around with right now.
Yeah, thank you so very much, Amanda. I think this is really tailored to me because I'm from the joint FAO-AE Center of Nuclear Techniques in Food and Agriculture. In fact, this we just, as what we just discussed, in fact, science and innovation plays really central role strengthening science policy interface by providing rigorous and evidence knowledge to inform policy making. So they identify challenges. They always, analyze the trade-offs and also generate solutions. So that's really the science and innovation. So just to take the FAO IAEA, joint FAO IAEA Center as a good example. So this joint center, in fact, representing a unique or powerful example of interagency collaboration in the UN family. So we are, of course, serving both FAO IAEA's mandate. We are really supporting our member countries in taking the advantage of nuclear techniques to tackle the key challenges in different areas of agri-food system transformation, including crops, animals, science and water, food safety, and so on and so forth. So if you like, because we do have tremendous examples and success stories, but I know we have limited time. Probably I just give you one among 5 of our thematic areas in animal disease control. So in fact, this morning, we just organized a study events focusing on animal disease prevention and surveillance. So just to take one of the key animal disease as example, as you know, in fact, the lumpkin skin disease is just really, I think all of you probably hear that it has been in Italy and France recently. So in fact, this is really very serious animal disease starting from Africa, and to give a response, emergency response disease in Northern Africa. So the joint FAO Center provided really timely support to, for example, in 2023 to Liberia and 2024 to Tunisia. So we did provide timely support to provide to society in detecting the pathogens, and also we also provided support, for example, to providing reagents and also equipment. So with this technical support, so the country really timely confirm the disease, and most importantly, to inform the policymakers. For example, we report to UA, the OIE previously. So that's really a very good example from the Joint FAO Center. Thank you.
Delphine, thank you so much. I was tempted to make some to wrap this up. I'm not even going to do that. I'm just going to say, I think a huge round of applause for this panel to Kik, to Afshan, Shakun, and Dongshin. I'm going to ask you to stand up. Please do take your seats. We are really stuck for time. I can people coming in for our closing session. Those who aren't coming in, please do take your seats, or keep the noise down a little bit. We have, I'm going to get into big trouble here if I'm not careful. We have 4 minutes, not more than that, to take, I would say, very short remarks. So when I turn to you for your reflections, it's not the 2 or 3 minutes. Blame it on me that we said that you were going to have. It's 1 minute. Think about your colleagues, your friends in the room. And we will start with, I know that we had a colleague from Japan that wanted to jump in. I'm going to need help here. The colleague from Japan, are you here? Do you want to go ahead to start with? Because I know that you had a heads up on this. You're going to keep it to 1 minute, please. I know it's not what you had written down.
Well, thank you very much for giving the opportunity. I just wanted to share Japan's experience. Japan's food system is currently facing many challenges. Climate change response is one of them. And in order to challenge these challenges, Ministry of Agriculture has developed a strategy for a sustainable food system called Midori Strategy. And we are extending this effort to internationally, based on ASEAN Midori Cooperation Plan to the ASEAN countries and to the other Asia Pacific countries and Africa and Latin America through global Midori plans. And in doing this international cooperation, what we have in mind is that there is no one-size-fits-all solution for building sustainable food system. So So it's need to tailor technology and innovation to the local context. To achieve this, the cooperation between stakeholders that include government, and local community and private sector is essential. I have some good examples, but from the time, I'll stop here. Thank you very much for giving the floor.
Thank you so much, and thank you for keeping to time. Great to actually hear what is happening and the role of innovation in science and how you're making that work in relation to food systems in Japan and how that can be taken outside of Japan as well. I think we also had potentially a comment from our colleagues from Sweden. If we do, you need to put your hand right up. Thank you. Do you want to go ahead? 1 minute, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Moderator, for giving me the floor. I'll be very brief. So thanks all around. And I'd like to take this opportunity to share some examples of how Sweden is leveraging science to drive progress, both nationally and through our development cooperation programs. So first of all, science and innovation are key components of our national food strategy, and recognizing their critical role, the government recently increased investment in food-related research and innovation to nearly $70 million for the coming years. Such investments funds interdisciplinary center formations that bring together academia, business, and public institutions. These centers are designed to foster collaboration across the entire food value chain, aiming to accelerate innovation, build knowledge, and develop expertise to advance sustainable food systems. Beyond our domestic efforts, support scientific collaboration internationally. A key example is the AgriFOS program, a consortium of scientists focusing on translating scientific research into actionable policies and practices in low-income countries, directly supporting efforts towards SDG 2. We also support SIANI, which is a multi-stakeholder platform that convenes cross-sectoral dialogues on sustainable agricultural food systems to accelerate consensus and create opportunities for scientific findings to be contextualized for policymakers and practitioners in a timely and equitable manner. And with saying timely, I'll wrap up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and again, very grateful for that, both how you're working within the country, but also what that means when you're taking that and collaborating outside. If I'm not mistaken, we might have somebody from one of our representatives from Hungary. No?
I'm here, Madam Chair. Don't go so fast. Putting my hand in the middle.
Okay, I have.
Thank you.
Can I do this? I'm looking at my. Yes, I can. 1 more minute. We have 1 minute. Please do take that. Please, I'd like to know who you are, your affiliation. 1 minute, no more.
Thank you. My name is Philip Limbury from Compassion in World Farming International, an organization that operates in 40 countries across 6 continents. A farmer, and I would just like to thank you, Madam Moderator, and all of the panelists for being so clear that we really do need to embed science and knowledge transfer into an enabling environment for food systems transformation, one that will deliver principles of feeding people first within planetary boundaries and in accordance, embracing that interdependency between human well-being, animal health and welfare, and a thriving environment. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. On that note, I'm now going to invite my friend and colleague Patrick Caron, Integrated Partnership Board Chair for the CGIAR, to make his closing remarks. Patrick, you have exactly 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda, and Excellencies, distinguished participants, all protocol observed. I want to express my sincere and deep appreciation for such an inspiring session. I want to express my appreciation for the thoughtful engagements, insights, and shared commitments brought to the table today, be it from scientists' points of view. You all underscored how vital it is to make space for stronger science, policy, society interfaces. If we want more investment, and if we want more fruitful engagement. I could not agree more. I would like to use letters to convey what I perceive as the key messages. D. D for dream. We need to build on history, but also to organize transformations towards a more vibrant future. A for attention. Attention to the most vulnerable, attention to the planet, attention, advocacy, and action. V for vision. As we need champions who lead us with charisma, bring people together on the path of our I for intelligence, putting diverse knowledge together, including science and other types of knowledge, to organize our doubts and to transform fragmented expertise into collective intelligence for decisions. And finally, D for dialogue, to address complex pain points and controversy. D-A-V-I-D. David, please. With his genius, our giant would have said that much better than I did. Well, science sits at the heart of food system transformation, not only as a source of knowledge and technology, but as a powerful convening force to make transformation happen even more strongly and with humility, as science does not have all answers or sometimes even the questions. I invite us to consider 4 roles for science. Number 1, science should track change and deliver metrics and evidence about complex processes. Let me just quote the example of the Food System Calm Down initiative. Second, science should help overcome obstacles to transformation through analysis of controversial issues, and this is particularly important in a context where science and knowledge face growing skepticism and misinformation, and to help us moving from disagreement into practical agreement. 3, science should help co-design possible and plausible futures through foresight so that we can choose and anticipate. And 4, engage in dialogue and innovation, institutional arrangements through appropriate mediation methodologies as shown by Brazil. So what? When I look back at 2021, and I was part of it, UNFSS has been instrumental for changing the paradigm about food. It is not just about producing more. Food systems lie at the heart of sustainable development, and this is good by all. A lot is happening as a result of such global framing at national level, roadmaps and great coordination, as we heard from Ethiopia, for example, yesterday. At local level, many innovative processes, yet critical gaps remain. For instance, transformation at scale can not only result from replication of local success stories and manage the scaling up stalemate. Conversely, it cannot result only from implementation of global agreements. We have to contaminate. As shown by Vietnam, we have to better connect and align local innovation with national policies and global frameworks. This means strengthening territorial relays and learning from the many ongoing transformation efforts that take place here and there, as we heard during these 2 days. Science can support that. As we say in CGR, with science we can. And we stand ready at CGR to deepen our engagement with partners to accelerate just transformation through research and innovation. Our new portfolio has been designed to address such an avenue, in particular with a scaling accelerator. Let's mobilize different academic communities and our contributions through appropriate convening and partnership mechanisms. To conclude, I said with humility, but let's be ambitious together through convening ability, and appropriate right-based science policy society interfaces to make action knowledgeable and knowledge actionable, as suggested by the CFS high-level panel of experts and the FAO guidance on science. Let's commit to using science as a catalyst for connection and a foundation for action. Let's not wait another 2 years. Let's value what we have heard. Let's immediately engage and learn through bricolage. I thank you.
Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. At this point, the session is now closed.